Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Emerald the Quilter, and today I'm going to show you how to make a baby quilt using any pattern that you have. I'm going to show you some tips and some tricks, so watch to the end. I've brought out a few quilt patterns that I have. I've made this one already. This is Sweet Ride by Laundry Basket Quilts. I have yet to make this one called Lollipops, also by Laundry Basket Quilts. And in today's video, I'll be showing you Country Bunnies. So we have a baby on the way in the family, which is why I thought I'm gonna go ahead and make this tutorial. This quilt has, I believe, 16 bunnies total, maybe a little bit more than that. There isn't a picture. How many bunnies? 16, yep, 16 bunnies, but I am only making 4. So what do? Well, you have to consider the size of your yardage. When you open a yard of fabric, you're going to have 36, usually by 42 inches. Sometimes it's 36 inches by 40 inches. And the easiest thing to do, and this is my opinion, this is my tip for you, is to keep your final quilt top within 1 yard so that when it's time for you to quilt it, you won't need to sew any extra seams. For example, on this pattern, the blocks are at 9.5 inches. They would finish at 9, and so I would want 3 rows and 3 columns to make a baby quilt. That would put me at about 27 inches with room to spare. Now, if you're getting it professionally quilted, remember that you're going to need at least 4 inches of space on your backing and batting on either side, on all 4 sides. However, if you're going to do it on your domestic machine, you could, with a quilt this size, get away with 1/2 inch on either side if you're very confident, 1 inch or 2 if you're not so confident. So that would be just this inner square here, and that would be perfect size for a baby, perfect size for a toddler as they're growing up, because once they're running around, they like to carry their blankets and their quilts and their loveys and all their toys with them, and if it's too long, they trip and fall. Ask me how I know. Now this one is an unusual size at 9.5 by 11.5 inches. So I would want 4 rows and 3 columns. That would make sure that when I open up this yard of fabric that I pick, it would fit, and it would be just this area here. This would fit onto 1 yard of backing fabric. And on Country Bunnies, with 4 blocks, each block equaling unfinished 11 by 14.25. I know I'm going to go 2 rows by 2 columns so that I can fit, and I'm going to have more than enough space on one side to fit my blocks and sashing onto 1 yard of fabric. That leaves me with the next step, cutting it all out. So here are my Country Bunny blocks. They're all stacked, and I have my sashing already prepared, my cornerstones prepared, and you can see that there's just 4 of each, and I made them all the same. Since this is going to be a small quilt, I think it's going to be beautiful with just 1 main print, and then also 1 main print with sashing and a separate main print for, 1 main print for the cornerstones and then 1 main print for the sashing. So I'm going to show you how to make this very large Country Bunnies quilt, which finishes, if you were to follow the quilt instructions, would be 61.5 by 74.5. and show you how it's going to be so much smaller and just the right size for that brand new baby. When you're in a hurry to make a baby quilt like I am, it's best to have some helpful tools laying around. I have this here. This is a 1/4 inch seam tape made by Cluck. So you tape it onto your sewing machine, and I love it because it helps me get away with not having to draw lines and tons of squares on the diagonal. It just saves me a lot of time, and so I love using this. And my leaders and enders. These are tiny pieces of cutaways that were too small for me to sew into half square triangles, or I just didn't want to do that. And I mostly use these for leaders. They're great when you're chain piecing, which is what I'm going to be doing today to save time. And it's helpful to also have a design board. I made this design board using Lori Holt's design board tutorial on YouTube, and I have every single piece laid out on top of the unit that it's going to go on. So I'm making this entire quilt block at the same time, every unit at the same time. So once I get one corner sewed on, I take all of them and I'll cut them all away. I press all of them at the same time if I have to, and I bring them all back. So this is going to save me time when I'm in a hurry. I'm going to prepare my sewing machine by just ripping off some of this tape, and I'm going to line the red line up with the center where my needle goes down, and I'm going to try to rip this straight so it doesn't get attached to the feed dogs. Just like so. I'm going to bring my foot down just to make sure. Looks good. And my black line should be touching the edge of my 1/4 inch foot. Untangle this and bring it down. Press and it's good to go. So that has been applied. As this loses its stickiness, you can just replace it with more. And I'm going to add my very first leader in. If you have been watching my other videos, you know that I like to sew with a stitch that's 1.5. I used to sew with a stitch that with a length of like a 1.8, but this sewing machine doesn't allow that. It just jumps from 1.5 to 2. And I've gotten used to sewing with a 1.5 stitch. Now I'm going to take my very first unit and I'm going to take the thighs of the bunny and I'm going to just sew all 4, and remember that they are mirror images of one another, so 4 on the right and 4 on the left. And it would help if I had all 4 here. So I think I dropped 2 on the right. I'll have to go get those. But I'm going to start, 2 on the left, but I have all of them for the right. And I start with the needle down at the corner, and by keeping this corner on the red line, I have a perfect corner to corner on the diagonal seam. Now this bunny has lots of parts to it. So as you're working on a block with lots of units, especially if they all look different, any animal is going to sort of have that challenge to it. It's helpful if you sew the same unit at the same time, instead of doing a little bit of one unit one day and then coming back to do that same unit the next day. And I need to go find the other two left thighs. So I'm going to sew this, and I'll be right back. I found them. I had thrown them into my brown and black scraps. Have you ever done that before? Misplaced your cut pieces only to find them where they shouldn't be? Trying to keep some of these flowers away from the part that I'm going to cut away. The roses are beautiful. This line that I'm using is called Scarlet and Sage by Joanna Figueroa of Fig Tree Quilts. It's a few years old now. It's hard to find. And I had just some yardage and then a bunch of scraps left over. And I have used it maybe in like 4 or 5 quilted projects already. So it is a beautiful line if you can get your hands on it. And I just knew that it was going to make a beautiful little bunny. Not too girly, not too much for just a boy, more neutral. Now this unit that I'm sewing is the bunny's tail. And this unit is going to have 4 of the same corner squares. So I'm gonna have to take this unit out 3 more times to sew the other corners. The main print that I'm using has very large roses, and then on the tails, they're like the medium floral print so that it goes well. It's still kind of brown, but it just has a little bit of yellow to it. Now I'm going to take the units that go right above the thigh, and I have the right side and the left side, and then I'm going to sew all of those. It's kind of like making a puzzle. And if you have never used any patterns from the pattern basket, they're great because they give you instructions on what to do for each individual block, but then also the math if you want to make the entire quilt that's pictured on the pattern, which I love that flexibility. And it kind of reads in between a fig tree pattern and like an It's So Emma pattern. So it has very simple diagrams. They are in black and white, and they're very easy to follow. So I highly recommend any pattern by the pattern basket. Okay, so I sewed those, and now I'm going to sew the units on the opposite corner. And I'm trying to decide like which side of the fabric do I want to see when it's flipped over. Do I want to see like more red, more green, more pink, or more brown? I try to mix them up so that they don't all look the same. But when you're going through them quickly, it's also kind of easy to like forget what you have already placed in what direction. The bunny thighs and right above the thighs are so far done with as far as I could go. Next, I'm going to sew the collar to the bunny bodice. And this is the tiniest little collar. I think this is the cutest accent. And the background that I'm using, in case you're wondering, is a fig tree cream. Fig tree cream, it goes with like every single line that Joanna comes out with, pretty much every single line. And it goes beautifully with this low volume print that I'm using as the collar. And I'm definitely keeping my roses facing up with the bodice. One more bodice to go. Then what I'm going to do is just take a step back and look at what I have sewn so far, make my cutaways, press, because I have sewn most of the units together for the bottom half of these bunnies, and it's the bunny face and ears that have the most pieces, and I don't want to accidentally get confused, waste my fabric, waste time, especially because I have to show you. I have somewhere laying around the smallest amount of fabric that I had left over from the fig tree cream. I mean, I was just desperately looking for a little bit more to make the tiniest little squares, and luckily I had found some. Now, I'm going to finish taking these apart of the chain. They look like this. I'm going to cut these away, press them, and then I will meet you back at the design board to show you how it's all coming together on here. I've laid my pieces back onto the design board. Here are the thighs, the tail, the bodice, and all the little pieces that I still need to sew on. Here are the units that go on either side of the bodice, and you can see that keeping them tidy is keeping me organized, and it's going to help me from getting confused with all the other tiny pieces that are going on. Once I'm done with the tiny pieces here, I'll move on to the tiny squares on the bunny head and bunny ears, and I'll sew the larger pieces in between. This is going to save me time, and I have a trick for you. All those cutaways, throw them in the trash. You don't need to sew them, you don't need to keep them, especially if you have a ton of leaders and enders already. So let's sew the rest of these tiny pieces. I'm starting off with another leader, and I'm going to work on this tail. And because I want to finish the tail and finish with these tiny pieces so I don't lose them and I don't forget where they go, I'm going to sew all remaining 3 seams at the same time before I even move on to another unit. This is going to help me move through the block quickly and efficiently. Now I have a tip for you. If you're trying to save time because you're in a hurry, use all the same fabrics for your blocks. Don't use one fabric for one block with one pattern, one background, and then one other main print for the block with a completely different background. If you have the time to do that, then yes, but if you're in a hurry and you're trying to keep things simple, do what I'm doing. I forgot to lower my stitch length, but I'm not going to redo those. They'll be fine. The standard on my sewing machine is a 2.5. So every time I turn it on and off, turn it back on again, it goes back to the 2.5. Get another leader, just put a few right here. And I use the little blade on the side of my machine to cut the chain apart. And these little cutaways, they don't have to be exactly 1/4 of an inch. You can just cut them with scissors. That will help save more time too. I'm trying to keep either like a lot of brown or a lot of green on the side that will be flipped over so that it provides some contrast to the medium print that I have for these bunny tails. These are going to be the cutest bunny bottoms ever. Okay, that was 4. Cut it away one more time. And I have one more seam to go. Put in another leader. Now I wish I would have started timing myself so that I could tell you like how fast this is going. I think I started at about 7:30, so I'm gonna try to make a guess and then share with you about how long I think it took me to make all 4 blocks. Of course, the setting up with the camera, moving it around, and the light that I have, that does take up some time, so I'll take that into consideration. Okay, the bunny tails have all their seams. Yay! There they are. These need to be cut off and pressed, so I'm going to do that right now. I'm starting off with another leader, and I'm going to work on this tail. And because I want to finish the tail and finish with these tiny pieces so I don't lose them and I don't forget where they go, I'm going to sew all remaining 3 seams at the same time before I even move on to another unit. This is going to help me move through the block quickly and efficiently. Now I have a tip for you. If you're trying to save time because you're in a hurry, use all the same fabrics for your blocks. Don't use one fabric for one block with one pattern, one background, and then one other main print for the block with a completely different background. If you have the time to do that, then yes, but if you're in a hurry and you're trying to keep things simple, do what I'm doing. I forgot to lower my stitch length, but I'm not going to redo those. They'll be fine. The standard on my sewing machine is a 2.5. So every time I turn it on and off, turn it back on again, it goes back to the 2.5. Get another leader, just put a few right here. And I use the little blade on the side of my machine to cut the chain apart. And these little cutaways. They don't have to be exactly 1/4 of an inch. You can just cut them with scissors. That will help save more time too. I'm trying to keep either like a lot of brown or a lot of green on the side that will be flipped over so that it provides some contrast to the medium print that I have for these bunny tails. These are going to be the cutest bunny bottoms ever. Okay, that was 4. Cut it away one more time. And I have one more seam to go. Put in another leader. Now I wish I would have started timing myself so that I could tell you like how fast this is going. I think I started at about 7:30, so I'm gonna try to make a guess and then share with you about how long I think it took me to make all 4 blocks. Of course, the setting up with the camera, moving it around, and the light that I have, that does take up some time, so I'll take that into consideration. Okay, the bunny tails have all their seams. Yay! There they are. These need to be cut off and pressed, so I'm going to do that right now. Here they are. They are cut and pressed. So I'm going to put them back in between the bunny thighs. I'm going to take the next small pieces, which are these white squares and the bodice, and I'm going to sew them on. Using my tape as a guide. For 16 bunnies, if you were making the whole quilt and you did not have this tape that I'm using, it would take like a whole day to draw all those lines. That's too much time. I will put a link in the description box below if you would like to get some. Anytime that you use the links that I provide, it sends me the itty bittiest percentage back, and I would really appreciate it. Mean a lot to me if you use them. There is 4, and now I can take these larger pieces, 1 thigh, 1 bunny tail, and I'm going to put the larger side on the bottom. So you can see that, you see right there how it's not 100% exact, the pink is sticking out. If you put, this is my tip to you, if you put the fabric that is longer on the bottom and you just slightly tug on the top fabric, the feed dogs will fix it and it'll make it the same. All done, no problems. And that was just, you know, a few hairs of a difference. I don't think you would want to do that with anything more than a 32nd of an inch. Is that how you say that? I mean, I think a 1/16 of an inch is really pushing it because that's half of your actual seam, but 30 seconds. 32. How do you say that? Let me know in the description box below. How do you say what I'm trying to say? 1/4 of a 1/4 inch seam. 1/32, or I don't know, that's wrong. Okay, I have 2 more to go. Now this is the last one. I put the bigger side on the bottom, adjusting it with my fingers. And now that I've taken care of the small pieces of the bottom half of my bunny, I'm going to start working on the bunny head. And I'm going to have 4 squares on the diagonal on either side. So I'm just going to start with the top right, line these corners up. Keeping my roses facing up. Pay attention when you have directional fabric, especially if you have stripes. You are going to want all your stripes facing the same way. Unless you intentionally don't, then pay attention to the way that you want them to face. But on the larger pieces, I definitely am paying attention to like which way they're facing. This one is hard to tell. Just go that way, this way. I don't know. I think I'm going to have it just go this way. But pick the direction that you like, is what I'm trying to say. Now I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to take care of all of the seams for the bunny heads because there's 4, 1 in each corner, at the same time. I'm also going to sew the left thigh to the bunny tail. I'm going to have to see which way I press this. Probably towards the side with less seams. That would make the most sense. I don't have my pattern in front of me. It's behind me on my cutting table. Okay. I'm going to lay these back on the design board to help keep me organized. I also have the bodice that is awaiting its left square. Where are those squares? They are right here. Are these the same size? See, this is why you got to pay attention. Is that the same size? Yes, it is. Okay. These are going to go over here. And then this bodice will be ready for cutting and pressing. All right, now I'm going to take the exact same square that was on the right side of this bunny head And double check, because I don't have any more of this fig tree cream. That would be awful if I made a mistake. I would have to stop the video, order more, wait for shipping, and continue the video another day. So hopefully I don't make any mistakes involving the fig tree cream. I wish I had a better table so I could go full speed and then my table wouldn't jump around. Okay, it's no big deal. It's just like slightly below. Now I'm gonna take these, like I said, and this bunny butt will be done. It's the cutest little bunny butt. See, the big side is on the bottom here. I'm gonna give this a little tug. It didn't come out 100% perfect, but it is gonna be okay. I will be able to hide it within the seam. And that was the only one that had that much excess too. Well, at least so far. Give that another little tug. Last one. Okay. Sweet, and that one came out pretty much perfect. Yay. I'm gonna finger press these bunny bottoms open. I'm not gonna take them to the iron because just by pressing them, it stayed pretty much flat. You see that? The smaller pieces need heat to stay down. I'm putting it back on the board. Remember, staying tidy helps keep everything efficient. It will help you sew faster. It will keep you from losing your pieces. So you can buy design boards or you can make them. Here are the bunny heads, which I'm gonna keep to my right because I know that I'm not done with them. The bodices are done, well, except for cutting and pressing. So I will do that at the same time as these. Whenever you're sewing, if there's ever anything that you can bundle together, do it. And if I had more confidence, I would have done every single part of the bunny at the same time. Instead of doing it in chunks, I'm sort of spreading it out into chunks of 3, but I did not want to make any mistakes because I don't have the fabric, the background fabric, to make mistakes. So I have 3 seams now attached. I'm going to cut this off, break the chain. And sew the remaining ones on. Oops, I almost forgot. A leader. Okay. There we go. Remember to always follow this red line. Okay, so now I can cut this chain off. Just take a look one more time that I do have all 4 seams attached to the corners, and I do. They look like this. Now I'm going to take these to the cutting table and the bodices, press them open, and then I'll be able to continue sewing the large units to these while not mixing up my itty bitty bunny ear pieces. Here's my bunny head, and here is my bunny bodice. They are nice size units now that I won't mix them up with any other piece, and I'm ready to start sewing the 3 squares that are going to go on 3 of the corners of these rectangles. Now they're mirror images, so I'm going to do one at a time, one side at a time, starting with the left. And having the design board has been so helpful. I have not had to look at my pattern since I've sat down to sew, because I kept everything in its place. One unit was next to another unit or on top of another unit. I'm trying to decide which way these leaves are going to go, probably facing down. And so when you don't have to go back and forth between your fabric and your pattern, you can finish your project much more quickly. But it's also very helpful when your block is making a familiar object or image, because then you know what it's supposed to look like after every single seam. And I want to work on one ear at a time. Don't want to make any mistakes. I'm a little bit nervous because I'm getting close to the end, and I have found that when I make mistakes, it's sometimes like when I'm almost finished. And I am almost finished. making sure I'm putting them on opposite sides. So these squares on the right are complete opposite from the square that's on the left where I'm pointing here. And then I'm gonna leave the third corner square triangle on both ears, both the left and the right, for last, because that is the exact same seam and I know I won't mix that up. Okay. Now in between, can't forget the bunny bodice and the unit that goes on either side. Two more of these to go. Can cut this apart now. Going to press these to the inside because it's kind of chunky pressing towards the background. So press towards the inside. Lay them back flat. And then I'm going to take a look at these bunny ears. I'm going to keep them with me because I have to make sure that the right ones, so these are the left. Let's see when I flip these over. They have to be mirror images. So let me bring them over here, all my little squares, and I am going to, the one I want to pay attention to is the bottom, because on the inside towards the center of the bunny's face there is no triangle, only on the outside on the bottom, and then there's two on the top. So I want to make sure that I have them. I'm going to start correctly by facing this way under my foot. Now that I made sure, I can set these to the side because they're kind of in my way. And again, in between sewing small units, I'm going to sew my large units. It just keeps the project going. I am loving this pattern so much. I think I want to make the full size pattern. I have a beautiful fat quarter bundle of one of Joanna Figueroa's fall lines. I think it's called something in cinnamon. Lots of oranges, some beautiful cocos. I don't know when I'd be able to do it. Don't have a lot of time these days, but I definitely want to. I'm just making sure all my corners match. I haven't pinned a single thing, and I don't think that I will pin until it's time for me to sew the sashing and cornerstones, corner squares, yeah, cornerstones into the quilt. Then I will want to use pins, but so far I've been pin free. Now the entire center of the bunny bodice is done. This is what it looks like. This is the collar and the sides. This goes right above the tail. And I'm just making sure I'm laying them onto my design board in the correct direction. And then I have one more seam on these bunny ears to do before I can do the third and final seam on both left and right bunny ear. Out of leaders, let me get a few more. And paying attention that these are complete opposite of one another, just like that, matching my corners. Okay, and I can hold them up side by side with the left bunny ears for you to see. Before I can add the third seam, I am going to have to cut these away, and I am going to have to press them open because the last one is going to go on top like this, pressed open. That's what it'll look like that. And there they are. They are mirror, they go like this. They're mirror images of one another. So I'm gonna cut these and then I'll meet you back at the sewing machine. I'm finally able to sew these last squares onto the bunny ears. I'm just paying attention to my corners as always. Going in on this side is going to be a little chunky because there is a seam close to the edge. So I just take it slow there. I don't want my seam on the bottom to flip. And then I'm going to do the same on this other side of the bunny ears. Those are done. Next, I'm going to go back to the bunny bottoms, and I have one more set of these large units for the right and the left to sew on either side of the bunny thighs. This is the penultimate seam to finish the bunny bottoms because there is one long piece. It's kind of like sashing that goes right below that. I'm ready to do the same on the other side. And these bunny ears need to be cut and pressed. I'm going to hold off on taking them to the iron just because I want to get this unit attached. This is the last one. Now that I'm looking at these bunny ears, I can actually hold off another seam on cutting because remember that the side without a corner goes towards the inner face of the bunny, and I have this unit I can just sew to. And it's more than a 1/4 inch away that it won't get in the way, and I can just cut those off at the end. Whenever I can avoid bouncing between the stations in my sewing room, I do. Oh, and hold on, let me make sure that I'm doing only the same 4. No, that one. Don't want to get confused here. So that one, and then these go here, these go here. See, I almost made a mistake. Almost. I was just going to sew any 4 to this very skinny rectangle, even if they didn't match. That would have not been good. I'm going to cut. And press these open, just like that. And I'm going to sew the other bunny ear on like this. Hold on, this one got a little weird. Okay, see this seam? It sort of got caught, and I'm going to have to take that out. Okay, and I'm going to redo it because that would have been noticeable. Much better. And these bunny ears are ready for cutting and pressing. These two top corners are what need to be flipped. And the bunny bottom is ready for that bottom strip. And I'm going to press these towards the background. And I'm making sure that I'm laying them back onto my design board in the right direction. It's just here to my left. I'm going to take the strip like this and begin sewing. Now this is so long, I think just to be safe, I do want to put a couple pins. So one at the end, one in the middle. I would hate to have to unpick something that is this long. And you know, I should just pin all of them at the same time. Let me pin. Okay, that way I don't have to start and stop, start and stop. Just pin all of them. Oops, okay, one more. Okay, all ready. Okay. Now I'm going to take the bunny ears and the bunny bottoms, cut as needed, and press, and then I will meet you back here. This is what the bunny head is going to look like. I still need one strip on either side of these ears, and the bottom and the bodice are ready to be sewn as well. I'm gonna pin these because they are, again, quite long, and I don't want to have to rip any seams, especially since I'm so close to the end. I'm gonna pin all of them at the same time. I feel like I am just counting down the seams left to go to be done. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more seams. And then these bunny blocks will be completely done. That is pretty good. Wonder what time it is. I'm gonna have to check. I will let you know at the end of the video about how long these 4 blocks have taken me. And if you like the videos that I've made so far, if you're enjoying this tutorial, you'd like to see more, give a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments below. I'm also interested in knowing if there is something that you would like to learn how to do. Maybe I know how to do that and I could do another tutorial. So please leave a comment below and let me know. Okay, just checking my seams. That one lifted down there and I just raised it back up. Check my seam again. Last one of these. This cute little bunny quilt is gonna make for the perfect photo op opportunity. I'm gonna have to take some pictures. Okay, now I'm gonna sew these units onto either side of the ears. each side. Okay, cut those and sew the same strip on the opposite end. Now these are ready to be pressed open, and unless they don't stay, I'm gonna go ahead and sew them to the bunny head. Oh, look, it did stay. When they're really small, they can be a little bit difficult, but these stayed, so that's good. I don't have to get up. And with the bunny ears, it goes onto the side of the head that has the larger squares. those are done, I'm gonna cut these. See how that turned out. There it is. That's the bunny tail. I'm gonna press these up. I'm going to take a look at these bunny ears and head. There it is. It's coming together so nicely. And then these really large units go on either side, just like that. And that is almost an exact match. I'm going to put the solid piece on top because the one on the bottom is just a little bit longer, just by a hair. Okay, give it a little tug to even it out. To cut these. Just getting so excited that it's close to the end. I can't wait to see what the whole bunny looks like. And pattern basket patterns always look stunning, always. Every time I've seen them on Instagram, beautiful pictures, beautiful quilts with fig tree fabrics. I mean, just beautiful. So I know these are going to come out so sweet. Really? Only 2 more seams to go? That can't be right. Yay! I think it is right. Okay. Ta-da! It's looking great. I'm going to give these blocks a good press at the end. I'm just too excited to get up. And also everything is pretty much staying in place. I don't have to fidget too much, so it's okay. It is okay. I ordered last night beautiful yellow binding from Joanna Figueroa's new fruit cocktail line. I ordered a yellow stripe because the medium floral print that I have in this Country Bunnies quilt has just a little bit of yellow in it. And her lines, the colors tend to match across. So I did hold the fabric up to the screen just to make sure, and it looked really good. And then I also bought the backing. So that's probably gonna be here pretty soon. And that'll give me time to prepare the batting and then work on the other quilt that I have on my wall. I just can't wait to present this to the new little baby. It's nice, always nice to give a gift, especially a handmade gift, on time. Okay guys, this is going to be the last seam. And then we can finally admire how adorable these bunnies are. There's that. I really should pin. Let me pin. I'm just going to do one. Just one. It'll be fine. That's what I'm telling myself. It'll be fine. I really just can't wait to open these up and see them. Okay, they're pinned. And lay everything the right direction, all my seams, make sure that they're lined up. Lift my foot because that seam was getting in the way. Adjust as I go. Oop, that one almost faced the wrong way on the bottom there. Almost. Okay. surprised I haven't run out of thread. That seems to be something that happens to me quite often, running out of thread, playing chicken with my thread at the end of a project. Okay, there it is. I know it's hard to see. Let me get them pressed and I will meet you at the cutting table. Here is my last tip. If you are ever unsure if your baby quilt is going to fit and you don't feel like doing the math, lay out your sashing if the pattern involves sashing. These are kind of looking the same, so let me just mix them up. And my cornerstones. These go in the middle. And I'm just leaving a space for 2. And my tip is, if it can fit on your cutting mat, it will fit on your yard of fabric. And my quilt is facing, here is going to be the top and down here is going to be the bottom. So it's sideways because these blocks are tall, just like that. Beautiful, so pretty, so pretty. And there you have it. If you are unsure, you don't want to do the math, lay them out. And I'm going to pick up my camera and face the other direction because it's on a stand right now. That way you can get a better look. Okay, here it is, up close. Aren't these bunnies beautiful? They're precious. And I love that with fig tree fabrics, you can mix different lines. My sashing is from All Hallows Eve, which is really old now. And then the cornerstones, I think, are from, I think the line was called Figs and Shirtings. But this just came out so beautiful, and I can't wait to piece it together. And there you have it. That is how you take any quilt pattern and turn it into a baby quilt. Use fewer blocks, adjust your sashing if you need to, and use some quick math. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!